What's going on, YouTube? Chris here. Want to bring you all an update today of Litecoin. Right now we're sitting at $70.65. We're up 3.96%. You guys, what I want to talk about were some of the key resistance areas that we're breaking through. In the last video that I laid out when I was talking about the extremely important video for Litecoin, go back and check that out, guys. I'll put it in the cards here. But we were talking about these areas at $64.57 we needed to break up through, and we have done that. The next area is $80.54 and then 102.91. Those were the key areas that I was looking at. And guys, we started to break through that 64.57. So now what we want to do, we want to see that act as support. Remember, when you break through old resistances, you want them to become new support. So if we back test it, we want to stay up above that 64.57. That's the area that I'm really going to watch. But guys, as we've talked on this channel, we talk a lot about trends, and you can see this green downtrend. When we broke out of that, that's when I was telling you guys, really take a look at Litecoin here, because when you have those trend line breaks out of a 6-month downtrend, you can really run hard fast. And what I also want to talk about is we potentially, I know some people in the comments have mentioned this before, and you really want to look at these patterns. What I like to do is go through the encyclopedia of chart patterns and line them up. But what you can see here is a cup with that little handle. And when you have a cup and handle here, guys, once we start breaking that resistance area of the handle here, what my books say, typically you can run about 30% out of there. So around that $64, what I did, I went up about 30%. And what you can see is that takes us to that next resistance area around that $80.54. So Litecoin definitely has a great shot at that, guys, if it can continue this trend. And what you want to do, guys, is really look at these trends and evaluate them. If we can make it past 4 weeks, which we now have, right here is when we put in the bottom. It was December 18th, 2019. For Litecoin, we were down around $35. Ever since then, we have been in that short-term uptrend, and we're trying to get it into an intermediate-term uptrend. But it's very important for us to continue this move, because if we can continue this move, this uptrend will continue. And what I like to see, guys, when we broke out of this, it was on heavier volume. We came back down. We set a nice higher low at $51. That showed the bulls were stepping in, and it had the strength to continue this move. And then we broke through that $64.57. So the next area I would look at is for us to find support off this $64.57 to not drop back below that. But guys, as you can see here, it's all about the higher highs and higher lows coming in. That's what I like to look at. And what I've been doing is a lot of studying. I really, guys, like to use price action and moving average, because there's a lot of times when you can get into these indicators, the RSI, and the RSI can be at 80 already, and then Litecoin or XRP or some of these coins can still run another 50%. And you know, there's examples that I'll show you in some other videos, but it's one of those things that sometimes using oscillators, they can mess with you a little bit. So I definitely like to go off price action. And you can see right here how we just keep pushing up. We're up above our 20, we're up above our 40, we're up above our 50 and our 200 moving average on the 4-hour time frame. Right now we're on the 4-hour time frame. I wanted to give you a detailed look at Litecoin right now, but you can see even after we broke through that 64, guys, we came back and we back tested it. The bulls stepped in, and then we had another high. So now what we're looking to find is that next higher low before we potentially have that next higher high. And that's what I like to look at. I pay a lot of attention to volume, moving averages, price action. But you can see when we got over this high here, it came on a nice strong candle. It was almost a what's called a Marabazoo candle here, where the bottom was shaven, the top was shaven. It was a very powerful candle that pushed us to the upside. And for Litecoin, guys, we've been all the way up around 72.93, and there was some profit taking up there. But these are the things that I like to look for, and it's important that we have this trend change for the whole cryptocurrency market. And I want to point out there, guys, I just assume people know it, but you always want to look at Bitcoin first, because whatever Bitcoin does, for the most part, is going to determine what Litecoin is going to do. Litecoin could be in this beautiful uptrend, and if Bitcoin takes a big dump, a lot of the times, guys, it's going to pull Litecoin down along with it. Next, what I want to do is look at the Fibonacci. I spend a lot of time paying attention to Fibonacci in my own trade. I don't bring it up a ton with you guys, but for myself, I really use Fibonacci because some people just really haven't put in the time to study it, and I just want to make this channel simple for those who are just starting out in trading as well. So when we look at our Fibonacci here, when we go from our swing low, that $36 or so, all the way up to our swing high of this move, guys, what you can see here, the last time, actually, you know what, I'm going to bring it down here. I want to do 2 different ones for you. So the last time we set our high, you can see we retraced all the way back to that 0.382 before we made that next move up. And that's typical. If you retrace to the 0.236 and get a bounce, that's extremely bullish. If you bounce off the 0.382, that's nice and strong, that's bullish. Then you'd want to look around that 0.5, then the 0.618. If you start dropping below that, then you can start getting in some trouble and it could be a trend change. But now what I wanted to do was just bring it up to this area that we had our previous high from our swing low to our swing high, and start looking at potential areas. And for me, a potential area, guys, is for us back testing that 64.57. It keeps lining up because that would be our 0.236, and it's also around this previous high that we wouldn't necessarily want to start dropping back below. If we did, we'd look at that 0.382 around $58.76 is going to be important. But a lot of the times, guys, when you look at these Fibonacci numbers, they'll really work themselves out, and you'll see a lot of bounces off those key areas of that 0.382, that 0.5, that 0.618. Those are the things that I like to pay attention to. Next thing, I did want to go into just a couple indicators here with you just to show you what it's looking like. In terms of the RSI, we look like we have a triple top up here. If I can pull this up for you a little bit. So right here, guys, we pushed up, we made it to about 73, we came back down to 53, then we came back up to around 77, dropped back down, we tried to get up again, we made it to 75, and we dropped back down. So now what we're going to pay attention to, as opposed to these highs where we potentially could have that double or triple top up there, I'm going to pay attention to the higher lows. So I'm going to draw a trend line right along here, and this is what I want to see hold. This is what we need bounces off of. I do not want to start dropping back below that, because that could signify that we'll start to have some type of a sell-off, guys. And that's what I like to look at in terms of the RSI, even more so than the overbought, oversold. I like to play it like a line graph and wait for those trend line breaks to both the upside as well as the downside. But you can see how the trend has changed. Now the river is up. We're pushing up, and the bulls are in control, and that's what we need to continue for Litecoin. And then if we look out to the one-day chart, we get the RSI off here. And guys, if you like these videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends. Like I said, I don't care what the price of Litecoin is. I've been here from the beginning with Litecoin, and I'm just going to keep working on Litecoin. I love it. It was the first coin that I ever got into. Have a lot of emotional attachment to it, just in terms of, you know, when I first got into cryptocurrency, you go into Coinbase and you start buying, and you look how expensive Bitcoin was, and at the time how expensive Ethereum was and everything. You go, all right, Litecoin would be the one that's most affordable. A lot of people want a full coin, and that's how I started as well. And then, you know, guys, you can just really build from there. But I think Litecoin is a very good project, and down the road it's most likely going to get to those all-time highs. You know, that's not financial advice, guys. It could take a year, it could take 2 years, but I do believe at some point we will probably get past that all-time high that we set before, around $350 or so. But on the one-day chart, you can see where we broke through that resistance as well, guys. Very strong. We are trading up above this 200-day moving average again. We potentially could have our 20 EMA cross over our 200, which would be absolutely beautiful. And you can see the increased volume. We need increased volume when you're in an uptrend. That's what's going to help sustain it. And it all started down here with this bullish engulfing candle. Then we had another bullish engulfing candle. And these are the things that I like to see, guys. The trend is changing. And last time we had that nice retracement, we went all the way back to the 40 and then got a nice push there. So you're going to look for those retracements, guys. This is the time when you want to be buying the dip. You want to buy the dip when you have retracements in an uptrend. You don't want to be buying the dip when we're having lower highs and lower lows. That's when you can really start to get yourself in trouble, or those lower highs and lower lows, and you just try to pick a bottom, essentially, guys. And I wanted to point this out to you because a lot of books that I read say don't try to catch the falling knife. So if you're playing a reaction, it's fine. You can see right here, we had a big sell-off. Some people would say buy the dip right here, right? So you buy the dip. If you're able to get out once you have that reaction and sell, like at the 20 or at the 50, that's fine. You can play the reaction, but that takes an experienced trader to go counter trend. But say you even bought right in here about $55. Look how low we ended up going with those lower highs and lower lows. They just kept getting put in. So if you bought at 55, we went all the way down to around that 36. And that's where you want to protect your capital. What you have to do is think about capital like soldiers. When you send your soldiers out, you don't want those fatalities. So you don't want to lose your capital. That's your moneymaker. What you want to do is send your capital out and hopefully collect more, and then bring it back in, and then plan your next trade. That's what I like to do, guys. And obviously you're going to have times when you lose or you lose some capital, but that's the way to think about it. Capital preservation is number one. In my Japanese candlestick charting book, in all the books that I read, they talk about capital preservation, number one. What's his name? Warren Buffett talks about that, and he says, remember, rule one is capital preservation. He said rule number two is don't forget rule number one, that capital preservation, because if you don't preserve your capital, you can't be in the game. And if you're not in the game, you're going to miss out on all these explosive moves, because this is how Litecoin and this is how Bitcoin works. Look at these explosive moves, guys. Like back here when we went from $22 all the way up to $36. This was a huge move. Then you had another huge move here where we went from 32 all the way up to 48 in the matter of almost a day, day and a half. And then you can see each time we spike, they're very long, almost celery stick type spikes that are hard to catch. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to be in the position or in Litecoin to catch these moves. But it's nice to see that that trend is changing. We potentially have that cup and handle to where it could take us up to around that $80.54. So in my opinion, that's something, guys, that I want to pay a lot of attention to. I don't want to make this video too long. I got a client coming out here in about 20 minutes or so to start trading, so I got to get off now, guys, but I wanted to get this out there for you. So if you like these videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're definitely in a trend line break. We're in an uptrend now, and that's a very good thing for us. So let's just see if we can continue this move, guys. The next area is going to be around that $80.54. God bless you all, guys. Take care.